It's my great pleasure as head of Shawnigan Lake School to welcome you to Shawnigan's very first podcast. The Shawnigan Journey is at the heart of our strategic plan, Project Future 2.0, which will be our North Star through to 2030 and beyond. In essence, the Shawnigan Journey is the unique and compelling educational philosophy of our school. The Shawnigan Journey, whether it be from grade 8 or later, extends way beyond campus to life as alumni and also as a map for development for our wonderful staff. The journey is not simply a set of experiences, but a curated journey of nurture and discovery, with choice in tandem with the opportunity to lead and inspire. I've invited Señora Andrea Carballo, Spanish teacher and chair of JEDI, our diversity committee, and former house director, and Dr. Alexei de Bois, Heimbecker Inspiration Chair for Experiential Education and one of the architects of the design of the Shawnigan Journey, to discuss and introduce you to the stages, milestones and philosophy of the Shawnigan Journey. I hope that listening to them makes your heart sing.
Hi, Alexei.
Hi, Andrea.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Good. I hear you're leaving next week.
I know. Can you believe it?
I can't. I wish you were staying. That's too bad.
Yeah, I know. We've had an amazing time at Shawnigan, and it's been a transformative experience.
Oh, awesome. Well, we hope you come back sometime.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I'm looking forward to staying in touch, coming back for the exciting conference next year in September.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so lots to still do together.
Awesome. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Alexei.
Yeah, so I was born in Canada, in Montreal, and then my mother was a Russian refugee, and Canada had given her family asylum. And she met my dad while her brother was studying at Oxford, and my dad was studying there too. Okay. They'd both come on scholarships. My uncle from Canada and my dad from South Africa, and they met when she came to visit her brother in the UK. And then my dad moved to Montreal, but he could only hack 18 months of extreme humidity and extreme cold. Yep. And so we all moved to the UK after that. And then he's a law professor, and South Africa had its democratic transition in 1994. Yep. And so then he's a constitutional lawyer, and he got appointed to be a professor at the University of Cape Town in 1995 after the transition. And so we moved from the UK when I was about 6 to Cape Town. And then I spent most of my childhood there, did my undergraduate degree there, and started working as a teacher in Cape Town at a primary school.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Me too. That's how I started.
Wow, that's amazing.
What grade did you teach?
Grade 5.
Okay, I taught grade 1 and grade 4.
Yeah, so really exciting, super enthusiastic kids. Yeah. And that kind of sparked my passion for thinking about education. I did a lot of work in townships and then went to do my master's and PhD in Oxford, trying to work out how to support disadvantaged communities to kind of get the most out of a pretty impoverished education system. And then that journey took Carmen and I, at that point my wife, to Kenya, worked at a British International School, then South Africa, Hilton College, a school a lot like Shawnigan, where I did a lot of work on experiential education. And then through that work and through visiting Canada, I met Larry and the team at Shawnigan. And I've now been here for 12 months almost as the Heimbecker Inspiration Chair for Experiential Education.
Tell me a little bit about the chair.
Yeah, it's an amazing position, really generously endowed by John and Lisa Heimbecker that creates the possibility for an educator from anywhere in the world to spend a year here supporting Shawnigan staff and inspiring them around experiential education. And so I'm the second person to have held this chair position. The first was Tom Hall from Geelong Grammar School, world famous Timbertop campus. He headed that up, where all of their grade 9s spent a full 12 months basically living in the bush in Australia. And he came to support Nigel Mays, Galen Wazell, and the rest of the outdoor and experiential education team to think a lot about the grade 9 Beyond the Gates program. And I've come in with my kind of lens of curriculum development as part of experiential education. So how do we bridge the gap between the fantastic teaching happening in Shawnigan classrooms and the fantastic programming happening in our outdoor education program, and make like a really transformative learning experience. And so that's kind of been the focus of my year, is working with those different sets of teachers across the grade 9, every department, with the outdoor team, going on fantastic expeditions, and then really building in some meaningful learning too.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. But today we're going to talk about the Shawnigan
Yes.
Journey,
Yeah, I can't wait.
which you've been on for a year.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is the Shawnigan Journey? What have you found it to be?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'd like to say before we chat about the
yes, of
Shawnigan Journey,
course.
I'm sorry, I should have asked you a bit about yourself, Andrea.
sure.
So, yeah, it's my first podcast, believe it or not.
Mine too.
So, yeah,
I know.
excuse the nerves.
No, that's
but
okay.
yeah, so can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
I'm Costa Rican Brazilian. My mom's from Brazil. My dad's Costa Rican, and I was born in Costa Rica. And because of my parents' jobs, we traveled a lot. I grew up in the Dominican Republic and in Colombia, back in Costa Rica. And then went to international schools my whole life. Ended up at a Quaker University, Swarthmore, up in the States, and studied lots of art and Spanish literature. I always thought I wanted to work for the UN. And when I graduated, I went back to Costa Rica and worked for the Organization of American States for about a year. And although I loved the work I was doing with sustainability, I realized that I was in the office a lot, and that was not something I really wanted to be working with people and with kids especially. And so somebody approached me for teaching at a local school, grade 1, and I decided to take it, and I started my master's in education at the time while teaching, and it changed my life. Actually, I just adored being in the classroom. And then soon after that, I met Paul, my husband. He was also teaching at an international school. And here we are in Canada, which I have an education master's in leadership. We wanted to go teach abroad, but 9/11 had happened, and the world was a bit of a disorder and at the time. And so we ended up in Canada, started our family. When we had our third child, Paul wanted to go get his master's in peace education. So we moved back to Costa Rica, and he did that through the UN. And then we, our friends were here at Shawnigan and then also at Mulgrave. And so we came to see the West Coast, and we decided to take the job at Shawnigan, where we raised our 3 kids, really.
Wow.
What drew us to Shawnigan, Paul's a big surfer, and I thought that this was the closest to Costa Rica I'd ever been in. It was an island, the ocean nearby, and the Montessori that's on campus. We had 3 young children, and our kids would be able to go there. And it's a real draw. And I would say that's where their Shawnigan journey began, with many of the other staff kids and some of even the local kids. So we came, and we've been here now almost 17 years, and we never thought we'd be here that long. But we really love the kids that we teach here. We've never taught nicer kids. And we teach with very passionate people, and we just felt like this was the community we wanted to raise our kids in. And every day we feel very lucky to come into work.
That's incredible.
I once heard a teacher who's no longer here say that we work in a garden, and it's true. Like you walk to lunch, and you're walking through this beautiful place where the kids look up at you and say hello, and we have so much freedom to teach all kinds of things in our classroom, and so much encouragement to do whatever we want. And so it's really a great place to work. So here we are.
Incredible. What a journey, you know.
What a journey. I know.
I was cheering up a bit
if you
there.
if you would have told me that I would have been living in Canada, at one point I was tying up my kids' ice hockey skates, and they didn't like it when I would take them to ice hockey because I wasn't strong enough and didn't tie them. And I don't even own socks. Like really, like I sometimes wear socks, and I was thinking, what am I doing here in Canada? And here I am. That's where my journey brought me, and we've raised our kids now. Our 3 kids have gone through Shawnigan. Our baby, Tomas, is graduating this year. So his Shawnigan journey is coming to an end, in sorts.
Well, in some ways, I feel like a bit of an imposter. I think Tomas should be here.
Yes, well, he arrived at Shawnigan when he was 1. Many of the staff now would babysit him and be with him in class, like Elliot and Arden Gill. And our kids grew up here.
Incredible.
That's right. Yeah.
So what was that first question you asked me?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, what is the Shawnigan journey? And I know that I've lived through it. You've only been here a year, but it's interesting to come from outside. You have clear vision almost when you're looking at something from the outside. Yeah. So tell me, what is the Shawnigan Journey?
So, it's taken me some time to think about this and, in a way that captures the richness of what that term means, but also isn't just kind of like some marketing spiel.
Yeah.
And so I've really thought about it. And for me, it's fundamentally the philosophy that Shawnigan embraces and its aim to shape the student's outlook on the world here. So it's all the different programs that make up that philosophy that serve that aim. It's the kind of grade specific imperatives from grade 8 through to grade 12. Each of those grades has a focal point. It's the ways in which we conduct ourselves as staff, our expectations of young people here on campus. So that for me is the Shawnigan journey. It's that kind of philosophy and the aims, the kind of the action points that underpin that. And I guess one really powerful example for me of the Shawnigan journey would be the kinds of experiences that the grade 8 students have now in Samuel House, where Shawnigan has specifically built in a residential facility that is staffed and constructed in a way that aims to nurture the potential in each of the young people in that house. In some ways, I thought, wow, this seems like a kind of quite an old-fashioned approach, segmenting the grade 8s out of their boarding houses. But having gone into the building, having experienced the intentional approach of those staff, it's nothing like that at all. It's all geared around getting the best out of those young people, supporting them, challenging them to achieve their potential in what for many of them might be the first extended period of time they've spent away from home, maybe for more than a week, right? And that's really, really exciting. I popped in the other night and the house director of the girls section was busy baking Christmas biscuits. And there were kids from all over the world, boys and girls, surrounding her in the kitchen, and it's like quite an Anglo-Western cultural tradition, but then to have these kids from all these different diverse backgrounds all having fun together and experiencing something that seems quintessentially Canadian was kind of quite cool and inspiring. Having the third and one of our interns at the school kind of hovering in the background, picking up a Christmas biscuit, and then sneaking off again. It was just fun. It made it feel like a home and not like a school boarding facility. So yeah, have I missed anything? Do you think?
Tell me what is, because we have words for each of the grades. So what is the word for grade 8?
So yeah, grade 8 is nurture. And so there's the Samuel House focus that supports that. They do learning, even in Samuel House, the way prep works, the way they're scaffolded with their prep or their homework, the ways in which residential staff have access to students there, as well as the kind of grade 11 mentors who spend a lot of time in the house with the grade 8s, making them kind of feel settled into this community. There's also the fun stuff, like I experienced for the first time in my life something called Airband, which is like a lip sync battle basically with dancing.
Airband's huge here.
Yeah, it was amazing. And Samuel House, they have their own thing that they do, and it was all fun. They got a standing ovation from the rest of the school. It wasn't like kind of what in my mind, some of the experiences that I've had in traditional boarding schools where it's almost like initiation. You feel like a little bit embarrassed and it's all a bit of a laugh. This was really positive. And that actually, it made me think of probably the most powerful experience around nurture that I've seen here was walking along campus, seeing our grade 12 Shawnigan Journey prefect, Adam Au, unprompted just put his hand around the shoulders of quite a kind of small grade 8, someone who's still going to hit their adolescent growth spurt, and just kind of I got this real sense of care of Adam kind of steering this young person through the complexities of a busy day at Shawnigan. And it was really cool. It felt like it embodied that nurture piece of grade 8.
No, absolutely. Actually, my 3 kids went through grade 8. My oldest, Lucas, there was no grade 8 house at the time for boys especially. So he went straight into Lonsdale's. I have to say, though, that idea of home is in each of those boarding houses. I do find that, and the nurturing that happens from the grade 12s to the younger kids is quite special. And that happens regardless. And even if if somebody's coming in the middle of grade 10, they will find a home in any of the.
Absolutely.
But I do. Ava had. She was in the first grade 8 house for girls in the nest, and she loved it. It became not Samuel. It was
Stanton?
Stanton.
Yeah.
That's right. She was in Stanton. The nest came before that, and both her and but Tomas was in the grade 8 boys' house and Lecky, and man, the memories they've made and the connections with those kids was incredible. They have both been grade 11 mentors in grade 11, and not only was it an amazing experience for them, like the interviewing part, having them interview for that in grade 10 was a great experience for them. And then also for them, the bonds they created with some of those kids that still are there. I think it really prepared them for grade 12 and some of the experiences that, now that when they went on to grade 12 to run the place. So for sure, nurture is happening.
I think that's incredible. And I really like the point you made about, even though we have these kind of grade-specific imperatives, these words, it's not just attached to that grade. It's kind of throughout the whole school.
That's right. I think it's carried on because but it is very intentional that we bring it in grade 8. Absolutely.
Wow.
What are the other grades?
Yeah, so grade 9. And it's going to be tough. You're going to have to cut me off.
Okay, no.
Because this is where I've spent a lot of my time. So I'm trying not to speak too much.
No.
But grade 9's focus is Discover. And the kind of flagship program, the focus to kind of help deliver that imperative, that part of our philosophy, is the Beyond the Gates program. And that's something that I've had the really good fortune through this Heimbecker Inspiration Chair position to spend most of my time with. And really what that is, it's a dedicated portion of time and money that the school spends, both time and money, on supporting every grade 9 student to have a kind of foundational experience outside of the classroom. So that could be something as simple as a really exciting history and socials unit in the school museum, so staying on campus, but getting them to kind of connect in a really authentic way, film their own documentary in the museum where they discover some portion of Shawnigan's past, so something that makes learning really fun and also experiential. But it also is making the most of this unique place that the school is located in, which I think is exciting. It ties us into the rich cultural and indigenous history of the island, and also this geographic and natural beauty.
Tell me about some of those experiences, because it's amazing what some of these kids get to do.
Yeah.
And I think, looking back, even though we've grown that part, as simple as having a camping trip with your whole class or with a group, and it's incredible the memories that you'll never forget.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you talk about camping trips. So this is a school camping trip on to the max. Essentially, in grade 9, every term there's a series of experiences that we leverage the expertise of our full-time outdoor educators. So we go Nordic skiing, there's biathlon, of course ski week, which we'll get to later when we talk about grade 11s. There's kayaking, both sea and white water. There's the capstone trip that takes place in the 3rd term, where in 2025, for the first time, every grade 9 will have a rite of passage experience. And so some students will choose to go on an extremely challenging hike, multi-day hike, where you carry all your own food, bedding, everything along the West Coast Trail. And in 2025, they'll be doing the entire West Coast Trail.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
Well, no, once you've done that once, like you'll know that you can do anything, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had the good fortune to experience that. So I got to do almost the whole thing with a group of grade 9s this year in the 2023-24 academic year. And it was, I could see the bonds being formed. I woke up the one morning, I was telling someone about this yesterday, where there was two students from Mexico and a student from Pakistan and a student from Germany, all with me on this hike, and the other 2 teachers. And I woke up and the 4 of them were standing on the beach looking at the sunrise. Wow. And it felt like something from a movie,
Oh,
and
course.
it just, like, I reflected on on what other school has this amazing mix of backgrounds and also experiences that these young people get to be a part of. And so there's the skiing, the kayaking,
and I
hiking.
think isn't there one to the Broken Islands as well?
Yes, so there's this Broken Islands kayaking trip, which is has some real physical challenge in terms of the sea kayaking the students are expected to do. And we have we're lucky to draw upon an amazing alumni and past parent community. So one of the world's foremost sea kayaking experts helps to lead that trip. He's a former parent, and he's still connected to the school. I think his son and daughter graduated, maybe 10 years ago, and he still every year comes and supports our programming. So that's another one of those seminal experiences.
Wow, so cool. Well, that's grade 9, Discover.
Yeah. So that's grade 9, Discover.
Great.
And I'll stop talking about that there.
No. Very exciting.
Grade 10 is Choose. And here it's about, this is really, we've now given grade 8 the kind of foundation, the settling into a busy, sometimes complex place, challenging to be away from home and some of the kind of the safety net that your parents had created for you, and to move into some decision making of your own. And then Discovery, giving them the springboard to think about new experiences, new challenges. And in grade 10, we think we've given them then that framing to be able to choose challenge, to choose something ambitious. And here we're talking about the Global Goals Conference that happens early on in the academic year, when over 300 young people from across Vancouver Island and BC kind of coalesce on the Shawnigan campus to do our Model UN program. This flagship run by our students, and where every grade 10 student participates. And I guess, I'll just focus on this one event quickly. What I love about this program is that Shawnigan has a number of students who join us in grade 10. It's one of kind of our...
It's the biggest intake year.
One of our biggest intake years. And to see a student potentially for the first time in a English first language or as primary language school that they're attending, go into this conference where they are now presenting position papers as if they were in the UN in English, and do so with confidence, with success, and with support is something that's really powerful beyond the kind of high level thinking about global politics. I think it's that piece. It's like that challenge that they are choosing in grade 10.
That's right. And then they can go on to do other conferences if they want to. It would be remiss of me not to say that we also do it in French, right?
Yes.
We have a double dogwood program here at Shawnigan, and so some of those committees are run completely in French.
Yes.
That's right.
And what's exciting, I know this year I noticed we had an actual French high school join us.
That's right.
From France for those kind of experiences as part of the Global Goal. So that's one of the examples. The others is our kind of student House of Commons, which just finished yesterday, and I think overtook the whole main building, where the opposing parties were presenting legislation and arguing and their positions, and that's also another opportunity for students to choose. No one student is forced to stand up and make a speech, but the choice exists and the platform to make that choice. And I saw students from a variety of houses, from a variety of kind of comfort levels, stand up, make a point linked to something that's real. This is like real life in Canada. This is talking about policies that will affect the everyday lives of millions. So that's a kind of another example of choice. And then, of course, what might seem mundane but is really quite important is choice around academics. So they're beginning to make course selections. They have made course selections. They're thinking really deeply about the ways in which those choices link to the future career or undergraduate degree program that they want to apply to.
Especially in the arts, for example. They get to, I have 4 advisees in grade 10, and so they're very excited about choosing, are they going to be doing recording arts, or are they going to be doing acting, or what is the art that they're going to do in the curricular day.
Exactly.
So they start doing that. They get to do that more and more as we progress in grade 11 and definitely in grade 12. But it's their first time in being able to choose their academics in some way.
I think that's really powerful, that agency. And again, because I've had this varied teaching background, teaching in a UK system, in Kenya and in South Africa, a lot of school systems, international school systems, don't offer that level of choice that early on. And so, we're giving students agency in setting up their day in a way that doesn't always exist in every independent school model around the world.
There's also kids who are taking some advanced math and science courses. Some kids are taking a second language instead of taking an art during that time. So they're taking say French and Mandarin, And so I've had that happen as
Yeah,
well.
so it's the French and Mandarin. It's
Or
the choosing a
the-
grade level
that's right.
higher.
Yeah.
It's also, I've noticed, we empower students to make choices to take courses that Shawnigan might not even offer, but we create the space for them to complete the course.
Well, you just did the sustainability course
right.
that one of my grade 10 advisees was very proud to finish.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, one thing that I'm passionate about, we probably won't cover in this podcast, is sustainability. And so, we were able to partner with Cambridge University to offer a 6-month certificate program that students could choose. And we had some grade 10 students elect to do that. And it had some challenging content and some kind of high-level deliverables. But it's been really, really empowering. And so, grade 10 is really giving pupils now that sense of choice, that they know the place. And even if they're new, a sense of choice to have an ambition,
That's right. Tell me about grade 11. What's grade 11
grade
all
11
about?
is all about leadership.
That's right.
And
can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Why isn't it grade 12?
That is a great question. Yep.
Yeah, and no, I think it's well placed in grade 11, but tell me about leadership.
I mean, it was the first thing that I thought. I thought, well, surely the most senior students should lead. But actually, it talks to Shawnigan's philosophy that leadership is a possibility across the school, first of all.
Yes.
And you can maybe tell us, and I'll come back to it, but about the round tables. So leadership is a possibility everywhere. Secondly, that leadership is a process. It's not something that just happens at a certain age. It's something that you need to be supported and scaffolded to succeed in.
That's right.
And so grade 11 is that opportunity to begin your leadership journey. And there's some experiences, of course, where we really rely on grade 11s. And here's the ski week example that I said I was going to talk about.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, so
my favorite time of the year, ski week.
I've never felt as lucky as I did as a Shawnigan staff member, being told that, hey, the whole school is going skiing for a week and you get to come too. And
as well as the cooking staff and our nurses and doctors and
everyone.
It's incredible.
It's a whole community effort. And yes, it's hard work, we take the safety, of course, and the programming really seriously, but it's also a whole lot of fun. And the key piece that I learned in my week at Ski Week this year was that grade 11s actually make it happen.
That's right.
They are in charge. They make sure that students are where they need to be, that people are safe. I was saved multiple times on the slopes.
By the snow angels.
Yeah, by the snow angels.
That's right.
Much to my embarrassment.
Yeah.
And then they also help.
I heard one staff member was in a tree well and his life was saved.
Exactly.
First run of the whole thing.
I heard. What's this guy? Elliot, I think.
Elliot.
Yeah, that's
yes,
right. Yeah,
that's right. We're so lucky to have him.
Yeah.
It could have gone either way.
Yeah, exactly.
It might have been my daughter who saved him. So, yeah.
And so it's the leadership across the week. So they take care of younger students. They make sure that the programs run. They're busy serving you lunch or dinner alongside our kitchen staff. And so that happens right at the beginning of the second term. And so they've had some support in the first term getting ready for this big leadership position. And then this is something then that also helps to demonstrate to the school a student's commitment. And so again, going back to how each of those imperatives fit across the different grades too, there's also a choice. We would never want to force a young person to take on something that they feel real discomfort in taking on.
Of course.
But we do want to provide the choice to be ambitious, the choice to feel discomfort. And so this is one of those examples where we would, we expect every grade 11 to support us, but we certainly wouldn't force anyone to do anything.
Now, speaking of discomfort, I think the most uncomfortable thing about Ski Week is the camping up at the top of the hill. Did you get to do that?
So I didn't do it, but
what?
Yeah, no, I know. Believe it or not,
you're going to have to come back for the next one.
Yeah, my South African kind of body
as
wouldn't.
As a Costa Rican, I was.
Yeah, wouldn't have coped. But yes, so students can choose to go winter camping. So instead of staying in the cabins at the kind of bottom of the ski hill, they can choose to go with our expert outdoor educators and winter camp in a variety of ways. So I don't know all the terminology, but I know that they can dig.
They dig a cave, a snow cave, and that's where they sleep.
Exactly, dig a snow cave, and there's something else also that they do.
And I've met some kids who do it 2 nights in a row. Wow. Imagine. That's crazy. What's interesting about Ski Week is, you're right. Not everyone's a big skier. So some kids will take care of, say, the snow sculpture competition. Some kids will be in charge of looking after the staff kids.
Yes.
I used to be a house director, and it was one of those seminal times of the year when you were looking at the grade 11s and thinking about leadership opportunities and having conversations with them for the next year. Because at the end of that grade 11 year, they're applying to be a prefect or they're applying for house positions. They're also looking at who's going to be the captain of the rowing team or the captain of, I don't know, we have service or the captain of service. And so you're looking at those qualities and you're having those conversations with the kids, and you're having the conversations as Ski Week as you're going up the lift.
Exactly.
So tell me, what are you doing? You're getting to meet some of these kids and learning about, and you're seeing them in all kinds of inter-house karaoke, reach for the top, all kinds of aspects, and in the lineup to get your food. So yeah.
And I think the way that it's positioned, that leadership is service. And I think that's like really cool. And that leadership as service piece, I don't know if you want to talk about grade 12 now then.
Sure.
But
yes,
it sets it up for that inspiring leadership in grade 12, which is inspire is the kind of action word or the imperative for grade 12. And there it's about every grade 12 being given the opportunity to inspire their peers, but also to have some self-inspiration. They visit the guidance office regularly. That's another thing that I've been able to contribute to here is the kind of university guidance team with some of my expertise from my former schools. But it's also that piece. It's like to inspire others, but also to be inspired by the opportunities that Shawnigan has helped to support, create for you after school, whether that's applying to an Ivy League university or whether that's applying to a local Canadian university, but for a course that you maybe never ever would have considered if you hadn't got to be part of the fantastic case programming, or go with Mr. Mays to the observatory to do university level astrophysics that you then went to present in Japan. So it's it's that idea that there are so many inspirational experiences that as a student you're at the stage of the journey that what you want to be a part of.
Yeah, and you're going to be a role model for those younger kids who are looking up at you,
Exactly.
right? As you're doing some of these inter-house competitions or in your dorm when you're putting them to bed, you're doing duty at nights, you're really running the house with the house staff.
And maybe it's that Adam Au example, he's that grade 12 inspiring that grade 8 just with a simple random act of kindness.
That's right. Well, Adam Au, that's all he does all day long.
Or
he
Sophia.
Just makes my day. Yeah.
Yeah, Sophia Wolfenberg.
Oh my gosh,
at the Nala Ayed book launch.
That was very inspirational.
I mean, she could have been a graduate student at a university.
No, I was starstruck. We grew up watching the national. Well, we raised our kids, and Nala Ayed is a star at our house, and that she was here. And I loved that Sophia took the initiative to be the one who was interviewing her. It was incredible to watch. That was a fabulous night.
So...
Inspire. No, I love, so we finished with Inspire in grade 12.
So I would say we finish and we don't finish.
Okay, that was what I was going to say. I don't think the Shawnigan Journey finishes in grade 12.
Neither do I.
Okay, tell me why, and I'll give you some examples.
I would love that because you know the community so well.
Well, I here again, I have my 3 kids. My oldest lives with 2 Shawnigan girls. So here he lives with 2 girls to this morning. I was asking him, what's it like living with girls? He lives with a girl from Case and one from Strath, who he goes to school with in Ottawa. I know my daughter, one of her best friends is one of the Shawnigan kids, Harry McGurk. He's a page in Parliament, and Ava and Harry go to meals together and look after each other. I feel very happy that he's there in case something happens. I know I can count on Harry, just like I knew I could count on Taylor or Annie when Lucas was sick, or Annie, and vice versa. And I just know Lucas just got back, and the first thing he did was go hang out with his Shawnigan friends. All the alumni who are coming back from university who live locally. Yeah. Every break, they're at each other's. He's in Toronto visiting some of his fellow kids from Lonsdale's. Yeah. They're planning on traveling through Europe, and he's going to do that with. And I see that. We just had the Founders Day, and the kids who were 10 years ago who graduated. It was so special to see them reconnect. Yeah. I mean, they'd reconnected the night before, but those bonds that they have, right? Yeah. I don't think the Shawnigan journey ends here.
No, neither do I. And even in the kind of 11 and a half months that I've been here, my family has been, we've been recipients of the kindness of the Shawnigan alumni community. Lisa Grover, one of the board members, she was one of Shawnigan's first women to graduate, one of the first women to graduate from the school. And, you know, they've looked after us. They gave us an experience to go and visit them in Banff and spend time with them and see an amazing part of Canada. Bob Murdoch, I've got to meet him, really inspirational Canadian businessman, and walk with him on the banks of Salt Spring Island with our grade 8s, but before we were about to set off on a kayaking challenge. And so to see that the Shawnigan alumni community is involved, from recent graduates to someone who I think who graduated in the 50s
Years
or 60s.
ago.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
I have to say, my birthday was just on Monday, and every year I get I get knock on the door, and it's a present from Sarah Booth's family. So she was in my house.
Wow.
So that fact that she remembers it's my birthday and she sends me flowers or a bottle of wine or something like that, it's very it's
That's
actually
incredible.
You just feel like you live here with these kids, and so they become your family.
Yeah. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it is actually. It doesn't end here. You're right, and it inspires you. Great. Now, can you think? We've talked about a lot of key experiences that capture that journey. Are there any other ones that we've missed? I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to capture the richness of it. I guess one thing we haven't talked about a lot is sport.
Okay, yes.
And that might be because, I don't know, I can speak for myself. Although I grew up in South Africa where sport seems to be kind of part religion, part national pastime.
That's right.
It's definitely not something I would say I'm an expert in. And so a lot of my time at Shawnigan hasn't been on the sports field. But I think, you've had 3 children go through the school. What role does sport or that kind of co-curricular piece play in the Shawnigan journey?
That was really interesting because it started from the very beginning. Our kids were all ice hockey players, and they liked to do soccer, and they did all kinds of other things on the side. So arriving here in grade 8, all of a sudden it was like, do you just hone down on like the ice hockey, or do you do other things? And they were able to do all kinds of things. And it's okay. Some kids do that, and that's their passion, and we support them. But my kids all learned how to play squash here. And to this day, they play squash and tennis. They come and play. They love Miss Grass, and they come in and play for fun. My daughter took up field hockey with Miss Conroy.
Yes.
And to this day, the first thing she packed for university was her field hockey stick. And she loved it. And then our boys and our daughter, they all played rugby and love rugby. So it's really interesting how they got to experience all kinds of things.
Yeah.
In my time here too, I've seen some of my advisees. My kids know how to row, but they didn't ever take it on. But some of these kids who had never rowed in their lives and get here, and all of a sudden they're amazing rowers. They love it, and what a place to row, right?
Yeah.
In Rowing Canada, practice is here. They have some coffee at our cafe. They say hi. You get to know some of these people. Some of them get to coach our kids. Some we have amazing coaches here. The same goes with rugby. Some of our rugby coaches, our soccer, the facilities allow for so much diversity. And I think we really, even through PE in grade 10, for example, in 9, they're trying out all kinds of sports.
Yes.
And kids find something that they're passionate about.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think it also, again, ties into those 5 grade-specific focus points, that we've got a specific program that suits grade 9, that suits the school's tradition and history. Then there's also the ability to choose. And the one thing that blew me away here was what we call our 360 program. I think in Canada, lots of schools call it fine arts. And that's these kind of after-school activities that actually are a mandatory part of school life. So students get to choose. But it's not only that they're doing these activities, it's the breadth and the range. I don't know if there are many schools that can offer a fly tying club to go fly fishing one afternoon, then the next afternoon to go to the Grow Dome to kind of be in an indoor, basically the school's own greenhouse where you can cultivate plants from all over the world with an expert horticulturalist. And then in your next rotation, because of course you can rotate, there's the observatory that I mentioned, the salmon hatchery, archery.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then of course service. Yeah.
Oh, service, yes. Service is my passion.
Yeah.
So I'm taking some of those grade 12s and trying to inspire them to change the world. There's so much that we can do. But you're right, that there's so much to do here. It's incredible. Very exciting. And the choices, and I think that some of these things are led by students as well. It's not just, as I know, fly tying was started by a student who had a passion for fly tying. We have jewelry making that was started by a student as well. Robotics was started by a student, and now we go to worlds. Man, robotics is incredible.
Yeah, and you've just made me think a little bit more about students and student choice. And maybe that's also another piece that, if I'm thinking about the Shawnigan Journey, that's unique to the Shawnigan Journey, is how seriously Shawnigan, the school, takes student life, and in particular student voice. And so it's telling that the staff member, tasked with running student life, his portfolio is discipline, quite a traditional school structure, but it's also everything else. It's every fun activity that makes up the Shawnigan Journey. And so it's not like, he's coming with this very traditional approach to school discipline and structure. He's saying these two things come hand in hand. We cultivate respect by creating these fantastic opportunities for young people.
That's right. He's also in charge of putting together some mean dances. We just had Snowfest, and Spring Fling, and so all kinds of fun things too. I wanted to say that some of these things that the kids pick up here at school, they don't finish in grade 12 either. I'm going to do a little shout out to two of my advisees, LJ and Julianne Degara. They were here years ago, my early years. They're both now in politics, and I know Julianne is a lawyer. They hated sport. Like, I'm telling you, these kids would cut sport if they were able to. But now they still run. So they both joined cross country, and they ran, and they took up running out here, and they still do all kinds of 10Ks and half marathons together.
That's incredible.
And I often hear this from the kids, that some of those things that they learn here, they still do, like cleaning their rooms on Sunday nights to prepare for the week, like we do the number ones, right? Making sure you're making your bed, like those things just carry on. Making sure you're doing a sport. So those are skills that you have to do here and you learn, but you carry on through your whole life, and it makes you maybe a healthier person.
One thing I wanted to ask you, because I've been here for 11 months, and something that's really struck me about the Shawnigan Journey is that it's also defined by the diversity of the community. So, I alluded to the fact that I had these students on the beach from all over the world, and that kind of had a magic to it. But I'd love to hear your perspective on how that operates here on the campus. How does that play a role in the Shawnigan Journey of 2024?
That's right. Well, when we first arrived, there were certainly kids from all over the world. But there was not much, like the staff were not really international or of different races or gender identities. It was I could have counted in one hand the diversity in the staff, for example. And that's really grown at the school. Now I look around, and I think the kids can relate to kids from all over the world will have someone that they could connect with here at Shawnigan. So there's been a lot of diversity in the staff for sure, and it's been something that has been brought about with intention. But in addition, not only do we have kids from all over the world, which we've had forever, but we also have kids from all kinds of socioeconomic backgrounds from all over the world. So more and more, we have what we call impact scholars, and we have outreach. We have kids here who have come by need. For example, we've had kids from Afghanistan. We have some kids here from Nepal, and they alumni and different families and the school will look for different opportunities and people to sponsor them so that they can go here. So it really makes the journey of everyone so diverse. This year we've started affinity groups, and so we're adding on to them so that the kids can get together once every 2 weeks or once a week, and they have like group chats and stuff, and where they can connect and speak, say, in Japanese. We just had an affinity group on Tuesday for Japanese students, and it was somebody's birthday, so I got an ice cream cake, and we're planning a big outing, and so it's just a place for them to go and chat and feel more at home. So definitely things have grown. We have Soji, and I think people more and more are feeling like they belong here, like they are welcome here.
Yeah.
And you know, I think just like Canada is changing, so is the school.
Yeah.
And so we're all changing.
And I think if I can jump in, you know, what really has impressed me about that is that it's preparing the young people here for the life beyond the school gates, right? You know, the workplaces they enter, the universities they're going to attend, the exciting, impressive careers they're going to be going to have are not some kind of rarefied, homogenous environment. It's going to be rich and diverse and culturally different. That's where we want to prepare young people to an environment we want young people to thrive in.
That's right. Yeah. We just hired our first 2 adults with disabilities here that they come from Clement Center. One of them is doing recycling, and one of them is helping deliver food to the dorms. And so it's great for the kids to work with them, and you know, just for us to reflect the real world outside. Yeah, you're right. So it has changed quite a bit. Why do you think the Shawnigan Journey is important?
So I think I asked myself that question when I was thinking about this podcast, when I was thinking about the kind of work I've been doing around the Shawnigan Journey. You know, why are we doing any of this? You're like, why talk about the Shawnigan Journey so much? And for me, it's about deciding together as a community that we've got a philosophy, that we've got a set of aims that we agree on, and that we can use as our North Star, that we can say the Shawnigan Journey is something that we want to shape every student's outlook on life. So when we are spearheading a new initiative or thinking about a new building or whatever the idea is, or a new student comes and says, I would like to try X, we reflect on, should this be part of our philosophy? Is it inspiring our community? Yes, then let's do it. And so it's about saying these experiences are not a random collection of, you know, lovely trips and cool programs. It's actually really intentional. We have designed them to be appropriate to these different adolescent stages of development. We have designed them to reflect the diverse community and also the rootedness in our Canadian context and our Indigenous past. And so it's just being intentional about what we do and, you know, recognizing that it's intentional. Yeah.
Thinking of rootedness, something that we miss maybe was edge trips.
Of course.
Edge trips. And I think those are some seminal moments in some of these students' lives. Not everyone gets to go on an edge trip.
That's true.
I would say everyone gets to go on a sport trip or a fine art trip, a 360 trip, or a camping trip. But tell us about edge trips.
Yes, so edge trips really are meant to be a challenging leadership opportunity for students at Shawnigan to undertake some authentic community partnership work all around the world. And so these kinds of projects have happened in Costa Rica, in Jamaica, in Zimbabwe, in Thailand, and in 2025 in Tanzania. Hopefully we'll be running a trip, and maybe that trip can give a flavor to what the expectation is of the Shawnigan students. So in Tanzania, we'll be partnering with a local nonprofit that helps to deliver clean water as well as permaculture gardens to school communities across the kind of northern highlands of Tanzania. And Shawnigan students, rather than only, and this is of course important work too, kind of painting a classroom or playing football, both of which are important, they're going to be collaborating with local community members, high school students, but also young people to work on sustainable solutions to the permaculture gardens. So in what ways can we together solve a problem that faces a community? So food insecurity or lack of clean water. And rather than coming in with a set of external expertise, working out with local knowledge what their problems and issues really are, that we can support them them to solve. And so it's that act of humility that I think is a really challenging thing. You know, when you come from a culture or society that seems to have all the answers, that seems to have everything figured out, and then to realize that that's not the case, to kind of, the best phrase I've heard from an academic from Cambridge is to quieten your cleverness and really get that community sense of what they need. That is transformative and difficult. And so often the communities that we work in might have some serious struggles. And again, it takes a particular kind of character to be able to tackle that challenge in a place far away from home, as an adolescent. And so I'd say that for me is the spirit of it. Of course, there's the excitement of seeing somewhere new, but it's that partnership
and traveling
piece.
with a group of your friends. And what's interesting to me is that it's open to anyone.
That's right.
In grade 11 and 12, regardless of if they can afford it or not. That's what I've seen through the years, the support that the school has given financially to any kid to go on these trips.
That's absolutely
it's
right.
Huge. I love that. So what would you tell a new student about the Shawnigan Journey?
So I'd say to them, the Shawnigan Journey is about seeking out amazing new opportunities that the school community provides, but also offering your own ideas so that your kind of story can become part of the Shawnigan Journey. So it's like, make the most of everything this place has. It's kind of been designed for you, but feel free to make your own suggestions. We want to hear your voice. Yeah,
absolutely. We were just walking here, and there's the Jedi Council has Shaw Comics coming up, and that's they're just running with ideas, and it's so fun to see kids run with ideas.
Yeah.
Something we haven't discussed, which is I do duty on Tuesdays. I don't know if you've hung out in the main building on Tuesdays and Fridays.
On Friday nights, I have been there, and there is a noise that happens on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can tell you a bit about that.
Tell us about the Stag Cafe.
Yeah. So the Stag Cafe, again, it's so difficult not to repeat myself when I say, what's unique about Shawnigan, what's different, but it's this incredible entrepreneurship opportunity for students in grades 10 to 12. I don't think grade 9s can do it, right?
No.
Yeah. So students grade 10 to 12 who are taking entrepreneurship as a course, a formal academic course.
That's right.
That they get graded on, that goes on their transcript, that they use for university applications. But rather than sitting in a classroom, which they do, learning about entrepreneurship, they operate a profit-making business, a student cafe called the Stag Cafe that is probably the highlight of the week for every Shawnigan student.
And the staff.
And maybe the low light for their parents' bank accounts. Because the food is delicious and appropriately priced for the level of deliciousness.
That's right. But some of the best smash burgers, crazy loud music.
Yes, student bands.
That's right. So it's great. Anyways, that's one of the highlights. So what would you say to a prospective parent?
I would say come for a day on campus, experience the Shawnigan Journey as an outsider, get a sense of this place.
That's right.
The campus tours are led by our students. They don't have a script. They're authentic. They're real about their time here.
Yeah.
And so you'll get a real sense of the Shawnigan Journey by coming to visit and just spending a day here with our students.
Get to meet people. Yeah. So part of the Shawnigan Journey is spending some time with Miss Samuel.
Of course.
And in your interview as a student. You miss out if you don't have Miss Grass as your grade 8 social studies teacher. You want to come early, but it's never too late.
That's right.
I think oftentimes kids wish they'd come earlier, but it's never too late.
Yeah, it's never too late.
That's right.
I've seen students in all grade levels thriving. I would agree though. I mean, the earlier you come, the more you get to experience the magic.
Yeah. But some of those little things that you get to do. So tell me, last question, what excites you about the Shawnigan Journey?
Gosh, last question. So I guess what excites me is the possibilities for the future. It might sound like it's all done, that, we've got these experiences, the product is finished. No way. We are so excited about new ideas, new initiatives that serve our philosophy, that support the young people here to thrive. And the community of teachers, parents, board members, alumni are all in on this journey together. And so that's what excites me. It's the present, what's fantastic here now, but also the possibilities for the future.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I ask you, what excites you?
What excites me about the Shawnigan Journey? I just feel very lucky that I've been able to be a part of it. And I know that even after I retire from being a teacher, I know that I'll still come here and feel like this is a home.
Wow.
And I know that some of my best friends will still be the people I met here.
Oh, that's amazing.
I know that I've learned to look at people in the eye when I walk by them and say hello. I mean, I'm gonna cry, and this is gonna see. I've learned not to cut corners in life. And what's Mr. CB's like, put your hand up, not out. I think it has shaped who I am as a person, being able to teach here. It has given me incredible optimism for the future of our world, because I've gotten to know these kids that we teach. And I know that we're going to be okay, because they're so much better than I ever was. And they have such amazing ideas and skills. And so that's what excites me about the Shawnigan Journey, that I know that we're leading in the right way. Yeah.
You're going to leave me in tears. Well,
no, I'm crying now.
Gosh, Andrea, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And best of luck back home.
Thank you.
And come and visit.
We will, and it's been amazing. And it's not goodbye. I will see you again. And let me give you a hug.
Yeah, same. Thank you. Thank you.
Life is not about the end goal, but about the journey. It is about the people you meet and the journey you have with yourself along the path of success. Thanks for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Spark minds, kindle hearts, forge futures.